We are on.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Brian Murphy. I'll be hosting the meeting tonight. And just so everyone knows, we have MCTV is recording this, if anyone wants to get a copy of that from them. So I'm going to go right to our hearings, which are...
Hold on a sec, you might. Can you hear us, Larry?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Sorry.
I can hear you.
Good. I'm going to go right to the meetings, and I'm going to actually take A2124 first. Okay, and then I'm going to take D2127 second. Then I'll go to the C, and then B. Okay?
Hey,
So I need
Brian,
roll call.
before you start, can you just tell everyone who the members are that are present and who will be voting?
Oh, yeah, I was just about to do the roll
Okay,
call.
sorry, thanks.
That's all right. So I'm going to do a roll call to see who's here to vote tonight. Brian Murphy. Say your name, each individual member.
Larry Keene. I'm home at my house in Marshfield.
Heidi Conway, home.
Sorry.
Mark Stiles in the office.
Chris Pelazos at home.
So I see everyone here but Steve Feeney.
Yep.
Okay,
He is expected to join.
that's okay. So we'll start with 2124.
Brian, can I just jump in for 1 second?
Sure.
And just say that if anyone's calling in on their phone, they need to use *6 to mute and unmute.
There's Steve.
Steve Feeney, can you just state your name that you're here tonight? Or not?
You sure that's not Dave Letterman?
Yeah. Can't hear him.
You looking for me?
Yes,
That's it.
just state your name.
David? No. Steve Feeney. I'm here.
All right. So we're going to start with 2124, Theodore Brovitz. Is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305 10.12 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct a 15 by 30 two-story addition in the rear of the dwelling, a 7'6" by 19-foot, 1.5-story addition on top of the existing enclosed porch, a 7.6, 7.5 feet by 11 feet farmer's porch on the west side, a 7-foot by 33-foot unenclosed farmer's porch on the front, and a 10 by 30 roof deck on the property located at 28 Cricket Lane, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel K 110908 and is located in the R3 zoning district. Are you here or your representative?
I am here, yes. Theodore Brovitz, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I think you summed it up pretty good. I'm looking to put an addition on my house. I have a pretty large family. I have 4 children and 3 siblings. No grandchildren yet, but I'm going to be having them soon, I'm guessing. And I also have my 84-year-old mother living with me now, who's got some disability issues. So I'm really hoping to expand the house primarily in the back to provide some additional room, an additional bedroom, but as well as some additional living space. And then on top of that 2-story addition, I want to add a deck that'll give me an opportunity to have views of the river as well as sort of a somewhat glimpse of the ocean. I plan to stay here in Marshfield. I love being here in Wrexham Beach in the neighborhood. Neighbors are fantastic. And so this is a permanent residence for forever. So I'm really hoping to expand it to the needs for a long period of time.
Sounds good. So Andrew's gone through the site plan, the elevations of the architecturals, and who's seen your application. Do you have anything to add, Andrew?
I actually worked with him on this project at the onset, knowing that he would have to go to ZBA, and helped him bring the deck into conformity, so all that he would need would be a special permit for this, but I don't have any problem with this as it's designed.
Okay. Any of the board members have questions? Seeing that there's none. Do we have anyone from the audience that would like to speak on this? Okay, so I'm gonna move that we close 2124, 28 Cricket Lane. Do I have a second?
Second.
Heidi seconded. All those in favor, please speak up.
Larry
Brian.
Keane, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Mark Styles, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Chris Delazos, aye.
Okay, so do we have any discussion on this? Seeing that there's none, I'm gonna move that we approve 2124 28 Cricket Lane as written in the application. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Heidi.
Seconded by Heidi. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway,
Larry
aye.
Keane, aye.
Mark Styles, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Chris Delazos, aye.
Thank you. So we're all set on 2124.
Brian, can I just jump in?
Yeah.
Whose votes are being recorded?
Just go with so the 5 of us are here. I mean, 4 of us, and then next would be Larry.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, good luck.
Thanks.
Now we're gonna go to 2127, Brian and Kathleen Tedeschi. The petitioners are seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-10.12 and 305-13.02 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to raise the existing 2-story structure and concrete foundation and construct a 60-foot by 22-foot, 2.5-story dwelling supported by pilings, an 8.1 by 20 feet front porch, and 15-foot by 20-foot covered rear porch on the property located at 162 Bay Avenue, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel M05-07-04 and is located in the R3 zoning district. Are you here, Representative?
Mr. Murphy, good evening. This is Adam Brodsky. Can you hear me?
I can.
Thank you very much, sir. Good evening, everyone. I am an environmental and land use attorney with Drowan, Tacho, and Morgan, and I represent the Tedeschis. I'm here this evening with Mr. Tedeschi, as well as Dana Altabello, our registered professional engineer. And as Mr. Murphy said, we submitted an application for a special permit for expansion of a non-conforming structure, as well as a special permit for work in the coastal wetland district. But upon further review, the project does not appear to be located within the coastal wetland district. And unless the board has an objection, we'd request to withdraw that particular request. The property is located within the R3 residential waterfront district with portions located within the FEMA floodplain. The property is improved with an existing 2-story residential dwelling on a concrete foundation, which does not presently comply with the current Massachusetts Building Code flood-resistant construction requirements. The lot is non-conforming with less than 10,000 square feet and less than 80 feet of frontage and lot width, and the existing house is non-conforming with respect to side yard setbacks. We're proposing constructing a new dwelling that will be conforming with those dimensional requirements, except with respect to the side yard setbacks. We're proposing to hold the existing 5.7 feet on the north left side of the property, and on the south right side of the property, going from the present 1.1 foot setback to 3.4 feet. So we're proposing to lessen the nonconformity. The extension of the existing nonconformities is not going to overload any public utilities or create any hazards and will not impair the integrity or character of the neighborhood. And by reconstructing the structure, we will in fact be able to comply with the current building code requirements and have proposed a piling foundation. And with that, I'm happy to turn it over to Dana for any more details with respect to the site plan.
Sure. Thank you, Adam. My name is Dana Altabello. I'm with Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors. As Adam mentioned, this project's located at 162, which is on the easterly side of the road, approximately 400 feet from the intersection of Beach Street. Currently, it's accessed by a brick paver driveway, which provides both access and parking areas in front of the existing house. The site is presently connected to both town water and town sewer. As Adam mentioned, that there is a non-conforming foundation below it as far as the construction standards within a barrier beach or coastal dune requirements in the building code. As Adam mentioned, we will be upgrading this. We'll be removing the existing foundation and replacing that with approximately 34 12-inch diameter piles to elevate this up to elevation 19.31, as you can see on the plan. Currently, the existing first floor is approximately 17.45. So we'll be raising it up a little bit just to try to provide a little more freeboard over the potential sea level rise in the future. Other than that, all other zoning and dimensional requirements will be met, including building height, building coverage, open space, et cetera. It's pretty straightforward. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
So everyone saw the elevations and the site plan. Andrew, do you have any questions? Anything to add?
The only thing for me is I gotta look at the height a little bit, but make sure that the height is 35 feet from, because I know that the elevation changed. What was the elevation prior, Dana? Do you know what the 2012 elevation was?
I think it was elevation 16.
Okay, so we're back.
Yeah, so
we're at 11 now.
Yes, that's correct.
So that means that because you're choosing to go with the flat style roof, the highest you can go from ground to the top of a flat roof is 35 feet. So, I mean, I know you're dealing with site plan stuff, but this is more architectural. But right now, as it stands, this height is, this little bump up here is going beyond the 35 foot line.
That was the intention, was to keep it below the 2.5 stories or 35 feet. We can certainly look at that closer though and make sure that that's meeting that requirement.
I mean, other than that, when it comes to building code stuff, I mean, yeah, I think Concom determined you're not in a coastal dune, but I believe you still are considered in a coastal wetlands resource area, which comes under building code. But that's okay, because the way it's designed as far as on piles and everything will handle all that restrictions. The only other restrictions would be, from the building code aspect, would be the rated wall assemblies on the exterior walls, because you're within 5 feet of a lot line.
Yes, yeah.
The only other building code issue I had with this was the height.
That's certainly something we can address on the final plans. These are just kind of progress prints. So we'll certainly make sure that that's met on the final plans.
Do we have any questions from our board?
Andrew, can you take it back to the very first overhead?
Sure.
Below the lot lines.
Site plan.
So,
They're real tight. They're,
yeah, just to the right, what's the bump out? All right, I see. I couldn't zoom in on it. That's fine. My question's answered.
oh, so yeah, just this one side will have the rated assembly.
Yeah.
Not both.
I couldn't get a zoom on my computer.
All right. Does anyone else have questions from the board?
I just see the front again. That one. Okay. So that's just blocked off, like right here. That's just blocked off. It's not a garage or anything, right? It's not a carport thing.
I believe
Right
the
to the right
intention
of the
is for
stairs?
storage.
Well, it's just storage. Yeah. Okay.
Andrew, did you raise a question about the height?
I did, but now I'm looking at it, and I just wanted to make sure that when we work it out, it's not gonna be between here and here. It's gonna end up being between this eave and this eave. Is gonna be the overall height, because you have these dormers and this, roof line change there. And that's the main height of the roof, And we kind of determined that with the one down the street on Ocean Street, 50 Ocean Street.
Yeah.
Which was why they had to have the full
Right.
45 or gables going all out without doing those dormers.
Without doing this stuff, yeah. Does anyone else have questions from the board?
Andrew, you'll be able to address that at the time of the building permit, the height, is that correct?
Certainly, yeah.
Okay. And there's no other increased nonconformities on this lot, correct?
Not that I was able to, no. And I went over this very early, again, these folks were very proactive and approached me very early on to get some determinations on some of these items, so, they obviously have made it more, or less non-conforming on this side.
Yeah, and the pilings will be great to do away with the foundation.
Absolutely.
Any more questions from the board? Do we have any questions from the public? Seeing that there's none, I'm gonna make a motion that we close 2127 162 Bay Avenue. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Heidi. All those in favor, say aye. Aye, Brian Murphy.
Heidi
Heidi?
Conway, aye.
Very keen eye.
Mark Stiles, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Chris Delzos, aye.
So do we have any discussion on this from the board?
I'm okay.
Go ahead.
No, I'm okay.
Okay. Seeing that there's none, I'm gonna make a motion that we, accept 2127 162 Bay Avenue. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to first, Andrew, can you put up the 1 to 10?
Yes.
Does anyone have any questions on the 1 to 10 that will be applied, that we agree that standards?
I do not.
Okay, so I'll adopt that into our answer, and I'll make a motion that we close. The only thing I guess I would say is, I think it's already covered in the code, but it's not to exceed the 35 to the mean average of the roof. Do I have a second?
Second.
To grant special permit. Heidi seconded. All those in favor? Aye, Brian Murphy. Heidi?
Heidi Conway, aye.
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Stiles, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Chris Fellows, aye.
All right. It's granted.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Yes.
Good luck.
Have a
It's
great
gonna
evening.
look nice.
All right, so now we're gonna go on to twenty-one, 25, Marshfield Agricultural and Horticultural Association. In association with 305-10.11 of the Marshfield Municipal Code, the petitioner is seeking a variance for relief from 305-5.04, Table of Use Regulations, Retail and Service, number 19, and site plan approval under 305-12.02 to operate a 2-screen drive-in movie theater in the Marshfield Fairgrounds on the property located at 33 South River Street, which is further identified in the assessor's maps as being on parcel G08-07-12E and is located in the R2 zoning district. Do we have someone here representing?
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Walter Sullivan, an attorney from Norwell, representing the property owner, the Marshfield Agricultural and Horticultural Association. Also with me is E.J. Dean of Fiesta Shows. As is indicated in the materials submitted to the board, the site is in the R2 district. It contains 62.97 acres of land. It's improved with 3 buildings, which includes a lodge-like structure that's sort of used as a clubhouse and for other related materials. For many decades, the site has been used by my client for the Marshfield Fair and other artistic and musical ventures, including the Levitate Music Festival. During COVID last year, with so much of those activities canceled, Mr. Dean from Fiesta Shows operated a drive-in movie theater with a single screen. He also does this at the Topsfield Fair and at the Exposition Center in Springfield. On the other locations, he has done that with 2 screens and has indicated to keep going at this site, he needs to have 2 screens. And what I'd like to do, if it pleases the chair, is have Mr. Dean speak to the proposed use that he would envision at this site, consistent with what he did last year. Mr. Dean?
I just for the record, I did a site visit here and I spoke with Lenny LaForest and Mr. Dean. So go ahead, Mr. Dean.
Thank you, and thank you to the entire board. So as Walter had shared, last year we ran a 1-screen drive-in at the Marshfield Fairground, and also the 1-screen in Topsfield, which has now been approved and setting up a 2-screen operation there as well, and along with the 2-screen operation in Springfield. One of the challenges that we have this year in doing the drive-in is, on a good note, looking that as new movies are starting to come out and be released, the parameters in which Hollywood works are different. In Hollywood now, with new releases, you're now obligated to operate a movie on a 17-day window, which essentially is 3 weekends, is what they're looking for. So if we run a 1-screen drive-in and there's a new family movie and for instance, this summer, we'd have to, if they overlapped in any way, we would have to pick one over the other, alienating one segment of the entertainment community. But the challenge there too is determining what movies are going to work or not work. And we showed a lot of Jaws and Jurassic Park last year, and there'll be some of that this year as well, because there just won't be enough new movies, as there's gaps in between scheduling. But to do that again for an entire summer, it wouldn't be a viable option. So not that I want to spend more money and expand to 2 screens, but to meet the demands of what the Hollywood industry is, and also to meet the demands of what the public would want, and doing what we did allowed for new releases to be done, buying, high-end 6K projectors. If anyone that went to the drive-in last summer remembers, originally we had a large inflatable screen, and then we converted it to a done because we had all the approvals from Hollywood for our inflatable screen, with the exception of Disney. So Disney wouldn't accept the inflatable screen. So we then kind of changed course and built that structural screen so that we could get Disney on board to have those movies. And fortunately, a lot of the movies that came out last in the summertime, although they were retro movies or classics, they were through Disney over the Halloween time. And
Walter, maybe you want to step in.
And
Yeah, really.
only got
We're gonna have
Mr. Dean, your microphone's not working. I'm gonna take over. So I think what Mr. Dean was
certainly, to the entire board and to the town, if police chief from a traffic requirements that they felt needed to be made, if there were any concerns. Go ahead.
What is going on here?
All right, I think I'm on now.
Yes.
All right, so Mr. Dean operated a single screen as he indicated last year, and I think that he thought it went pretty well. But to continue to do so in modern times requires him to show a second movie theater. So second screen. These are not permanent fixtures. Obviously, the use by my client has largely been seasonal, and that's going to continue. We did receive today a letter from an abutter, and we are always mindful of traffic concerns. And if this board were to grant a variance, if they found that we met the criteria, we would certainly agree to reasonable conditions that would include a determination by the police chief regarding details to get people in and out smoothly, as is done for other activities at the fairgrounds. By way of satisfying the criteria for a variance, this is a unique site. This is R2 property containing 62.7 acres. It's always been used, at least since the 1930s, by my client to have a fair and related activities, including artistic and music. And to continue that use at this site requires, especially under COVID, requires some extraordinary efforts to continue to make it consistent with past use so that we can maintain safe and social distancing. This is such a use. This is sort of a historic effort by my clients and Mr. Dean to find a way to continue to use this site and to continue to preserve the use. Without doing this, this really is a hardship because the other activities that have been utilized just can't really be done safely. There's no further detriment to the neighborhood, we argue. It's the identical use we've done in the past. It's just rather than a fair or solely music, we're doing depiction of movies. It's our position that with appropriate conditions, traffic and such, that we can get people in and out and not be more detrimental to the neighborhood than has been in the past. And as I say, we are certainly open to working with the neighbors. We were unaware of Mr. McDonald's concerns, but we would certainly give him a contact person. If anything's happening with trash or anything like that, we'll certainly address it immediately. We want to be good neighbors. We want to do this not just for the viability for the fair, but as a benefit to the town and surrounding towns. So we don't believe there's a derogation or anything that's inconsistent with current use to the neighborhood. This is not a hardship that's been created by my client, nor is it a special privilege. This large tract of land has been used in similar fashion since the 1930s. We're just trying to modernize the use and be consistent with past practices so that we can keep it going, not only for the benefit of my client, but for the entire town. So for all of those reasons, we would respectfully request that this honorable board grant my client the variance so that Mr. Dean can operate 2 temporary movie fixtures on a seasonal basis. We'd be happy to take any questions. Hopefully, Mr. Dean's microphone will be working better if there's any specific questions as to the use. Thank you.
The note he sent us,
Which one?
the email from the abutter. If it's all right, I'd like to take a look at the letter from the abutter,
Absolutely.
put it in the record, and then just at least let him voice his concerns so that we could address them before we get into here too far. So there's the letter. We'll make that part of the record. I'm sure everyone has a copy of it. And I was wondering, Reed, would you like to address the board as to your concern?
Absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep, Reed McDonald, 95 Main Street. I'm reading from the Constitution of the Marshfield Agricultural, Horticultural, and Horticultural Society. It says the object and purpose of the society is to educate, inform, and encourage people in the theory and practice of agriculture, horticulture, and mechanical arts and other related fields. I don't see how this is, number one, consistent with the purpose of the organization, aside to make money. And as a 501c3 corporation, they are tax exempt. So I don't see how something that you created last year in a pandemic, not being allowed to continue it, how that creates a hardship, I don't understand. I think that's invalid. In my letter, and I can read it if you like, or I can skim the highlights.
You can highlight whatever you think is what you're looking to be addressed, Reed.
In their Form 2D, they state that the space being utilized is 200 feet away from any abutter. Well, that's true. That is correct. It's back by where the old racetrack was. However, all of the cars, or at least the vast majority of the cars, are going to come within about 75 feet of my front door through one of the busiest and most dangerous intersections in the town. We've had numerous problems at that intersection. I mean, I've been living there for as long as I've been alive. I've been here 56 years, and we've had numerous cars crash into our front lawn. Unfortunately, we had an officer killed in that intersection. We've had numerous incidents of children almost being killed trying to cross the intersection. And what the applicant is proposing is basically doubling the operation from last year so that there'll be almost 1,000 cars a night transiting that intersection. And to say that this is consistent with past use was a designated period, whether it was levitate, started out as 1 day, went to 2 days. If they have it this year, it's going to be 3 days. The fair has been 10 days every August. Nothing of this volume has gone on every weekend, 2 or 3 nights a week for, I mean, we're talking 6 months. We're talking from April, I assume, through the end of September when the weather turns. So that's my primary objection, is that this is detrimental to the neighborhood. To allow this to become a permanent activity. And again, I'm not sure who benefits aside from Mr. Dean. For this to become a permanent activity is detrimental to our neighborhood, detrimental to my property value, and detrimental to the town.
Attorney Sullivan, would you like to address that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So as I indicated, we'd be happy to work with Mr. McDonald and any other abutters to address concerns in a reasonable way, as I think my client has done in the past. With respect to the mission of my client, well, I don't know that that's relevant to any of determinations for variance, but obviously we will be compliant with tax code requirements and we maintain a charitable organization. With respect to cars, coming in and out 75 feet from the McDonald household, we will address that as best we can to have police make sure the cars leave in an orderly fashion in a non-disruptive way. And, you know, this is still seasonal use that we're proposing. The activities that have gone on at the fairgrounds, to my recollection, include not only horse racing, but crash car derby and other things and amusement rides. I would suggest this is far more passive than has been done in the past. So I think that this is consistent with my client's operation there in the past. I don't believe it's more detrimental to the neighborhood, and I think it's worthy of this board granting a variance.
I'll say again, Attorney Sullivan, the fair goes for 10 days. Yes, they do have a demolition derby. Yes, they do have amusement rides, but it goes for 10 days, not 6 months, 2 nights, maybe 3. I don't know. Is it going to be a Friday night show, Saturday night show, and Sunday night show? Is it going to be 2 shows a night? And it's going from apparently mid-April, because it was supposed to start this weekend, all the way through, I don't know. So to say that it's consistent with what's been happening in the past, none of the events that have happened on weekends in the past have had anywhere near this kind of volume, whether it's the Kiwanis flea market or the horse shows or the Indian powwows that they've had over there. They have all been small, relatively low-key events. So to say that this is consistent is inaccurate and disingenuous, I think.
Reed, if you wouldn't mind, you have to address us through the board, and then we'll ask Attorney Sullivan for the answer. Okay, but that you're already you've asked your question. Do you have anything more to add, Attorney Sullivan?
Yeah, first of all, I think the hours of operation speak for themselves. They're in the application. It's not 6 months. It's seasonal. It's for essentially the summer into September. We're already into May, so I think that's overstated. I think all of the concerns are probably overstated. Notwithstanding that, we will work with the neighbors. We will certainly abide by reasonable conditions, and we would propose to work with the police chief when he thinks more details are required, or if he thinks there's any other concern that needs to be addressed, we will address it.
Okay, thank you. Reed, do you have anything else to add?
It's muted.
You're muted.
Let's talk specifically about those details that have been in the past that the fair has had great difficulty filling. There have been times when for the 10 days in August when the traffic detail at the intersection of 3A and South River Street have been put out, they've been unable to fill it because it's such a, and I honestly, I've spent a lot of years and a lot of time standing at that intersection talking to the cops who do the detail. It's a miserable detail. Nobody wants it. And very often, probably 6 or 7 times during the fair, it goes unfilled and it creates nothing but a giant case of gridlock at the intersection. I don't know
what we would do, assuming whatever we take for this, make sure that detail would be part of this and the police presence would be filled.
Well, I'm dubious of that because in the past it has gone unfilled.
I understand that.
And further, Attorney Sullivan says, well, this is seasonal from May. Well, again, what calendar he's operating on, I don't know, but the calendar I operate on says that it's April 13th, which is April, not May. And seasonal, okay, and this is 4 weekends a month, April, May, June, July, and August. That's 5 months. Okay, seasonal, and it's less than half the year, but it's pretty close to half the year.
Brian, could you post the schedule that was approved by the selectmen? Or proposed schedule for this year?
That's actually my question, Brian. Are we going to be asked to review every single thing that comes to the fair now? I thought this was more of an entertainment license question for the selectmen.
Well, I think, I think what we have to review here is, they put in for the things they put in for. Me personally, what I'm struggling with is that I don't understand this use as it doesn't fall underneath what they currently do, because and Reed was clear on the mechanical art. I just don't know if, you know, all the other things that are allowed there, music is art, obviously drawings are art. Movies are considered art in this country. I just don't, I'm struggling with what we're doing. You know, I mean, is this necessary, or is this a use that's been allowed or not allowed? You know, I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
Andrew, I think there's a 2021 license that we got late in the day that addresses this year's schedule. And Mr. Sullivan, Attorney Sullivan, were any of these concerns raised before the selectmen when they passed on this?
I wasn't involved in that process, quite frankly, so I can't really speak to that. I don't know if Mr. Dean is back on the line.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Which concerns in particular?
So last year, Dean, did they bring up the past historical use of the fair and the license that you sought?
No, not to my knowledge, not that I recall.
What about this year?
No, it was this year's review was essentially just, you know, looking at last year, how everything was handled and how it was processed, and it was given an approval based on, you know, that format.
And what was the result last year in terms of accidents, police reports, public disturbances, and that sort of thing?
When I asked that question to the town manager, he wasn't aware of any. Was the answer that I received, but you know, I don't have an official wording of that, but I was told that there were none of any kind.
Anyone else on the board have questions or want to speak on this?
Well, real quick, Brian, Larry Keane, the area that this driving is going to go in, it's already area that's being utilized, correct? Parking's already on that location, already doing, you know, the flea market there, the car shows there. It's already utilized space, correct?
That is correct. There'll be no new construction and the screens are portable.
So the screens could be removed.
That's correct. And I would ask the board, I direct your attention that the use proposed on the license is far less significant than the abutter indicated.
It's every other weekend. I mean, every weekend. It's the same as that thing. It's not every day of the week. That's why I think it's temporary.
Andrew, why don't you pop that back up?
Pardon me?
Can you pop that use back up, the 2021 license, so everybody's clear on it?
Yes, no problem.
Might address some of the issues.
Yep.
This is granted here for it's Heidi, one screen. This is for one screen that the selectmen did, correct?
Yes, yeah, Mr. Dean, this is for the one screen, correct? The license we're showing now?
Correct. The selectmen felt that they were only allowed to approve one, which is in the request for two, why to come before ZBA.
Because it was a use issue? Or just out of their scope?
I don't have that. Walter, would you know that better?
It's my understanding, Ms. Conway, that the feeling was because this was a historic grandfather protected use, that we really should come for the ZBA with a use variance. And truthfully, I wasn't involved in any of those discussions.
Okay.
I was under the thinking that with the second screen, it was becoming a primary use, and that was a second use on the lot. Is that correct, Brian?
Honestly, I'm struggling with the understanding of how the difference between one or two is the same as they have two or three. They set up 2 or 3 stages in there for music. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's more a question maybe Tony could answer, or Attorney Sullivan.
Real quick, this too. If this was approved this evening, for 2 screens, that would be for the 2021 season. And a 2022 season, they'd have to come back. Is that correct also?
This all sounds very, very much like a Board of Selectmen question. I'm still confused why this is before us. I mean, there's a lot of different events that come to the fairgrounds, and I would hesitate to think that we're going to have to opine on each and every event that goes through this is kind of a slippery slope situation here.
Mark, you're right that this is partially a selectman issue because when they issue the license, they'll determine the days and the scope of when they can and can't operate. The only thing the board is doing now is considering whether to issue a use variance just for the use itself without putting any restrictions or expansions on what the selectmen say. If the variance is granted, they'll have to go back to the selectmen to get a different license because the license that's on the screen now only covers one screen.
So Tony, if we're under the opinion that one is okay, but 2, if I'm struggling with that, if I don't feel they need a variance, is that an option?
It's an option. I wasn't a part of the selectmen's discussions, but apparently they felt that they needed a variance. So I don't think there's a definitive answer on it. I wouldn't want to tell you one thing, have it go back to the selectmen for a license,
So
make the applicant go through this process all over again.
Right, so it's how we interpret it. Okay, I understand.
It becomes a drive-in theater, basically. And don't we have a zoning? What's our zoning, Andrew? What is our zoning bylaw for drive-in theaters? Don't they have their own category?
Yeah, for outdoor motion picture establishment, it's allowed by special permit in a B2 zone and a B2 in the WRPD. So basically a B2 is the only place it's allowed by special permit in Marshfield, which is why it would need a variance. Now, that is for a primary use. Okay, that's not the primary use of this lot. It's gonna be an accessory use. Okay, so that's where it gets murky. Now, last year when they first approached me with this, you know, I kind of, you know, I allowed it because it's temporary use, pandemic. Obviously, they weren't having the fair, and you know, it was an opportunity to raise some things, and I kind of overlooked any of these use restrictions at the time in the name of giving people something to do. But I struggled also with finding where it would fall in the accessory uses. You know, I don't know if Attorney Sullivan might be able to shed some light on what they might have come up. Is this why we're going for a variance? Is because
I mean, Andrew, it's listed in that table as a category of a primary use. So I don't think it's an accessory use. I think that's why the variance is needed. If you consider it accessory because it's maybe more limited in when they can operate than maybe a regular outdoor movie screen area, that's again kind of a selectman issue of the scope of when they can operate. It's the uses, whether it's used, you know, whenever they want to use it or used, I don't know, once. It's listed as a primary use in the table, so I don't think you can consider it an accessory use. It's not like it's going to go on for one weekend and go away.
So Tony, Attorney Sullivan, so you don't feel that it's an accessory use, even though it doesn't seem to be a full-time use. So how does that work with the part-time versus full-time use not being permanent?
Well, you know, we didn't start off thinking we needed a variance. We believe this as being consistent with past use. The fair and Levitate are coming back. You know, those are going to be traditional uses that we stick with. We're just looking to enhance and make available our grounds for a use that we believe is consistent. You know, it's art, just like music and just like the other activities that we've done. But the selectmen felt that to do it, you know, more than, you know, one screen, that we needed to come for a variance, and I understood the logic, and that's why we came here to try to make the pitch for the use variance. I'm not sure that answers all your questions, but that's really where we got to. This is not in ancillary use. This, you know, my way of thinking, it's just another use that comes under the umbrella of what we've always done.
And that's my problem. I feel similar that it fits under arts, if that's what we're counting with music, art, and that, like everything that goes on in there. I struggle with it, and also where it's not, I mean, I'm not sure on the definition, but I think it's anything over 5 months is considered permanent. Anything under 5 months is considered not permanent. And don't hold me to that being accurate, but so I don't know. I mean, if it's not a permanent use, what does it become, you know? I mean, these are the things this is a tough one to figure out, because I don't want to, you know, I personally feel it's an allowed use, but because I feel it's part of the art. I mean, I just don't know how else to look at this.
Mr. Sullivan, Larry Keane here. Is the fair and the Levitate concert scheduled for 2021 this year?
My understanding they are, and you'll notice in the license we got from the selectman, Mr. Keene, we would see showing movies during the Levitate and Marshfield Fair. It's definitely a hope that they're going to go forward, but obviously I don't think anything's with certainty right now.
Nothing is in stone. So the way I'm understanding is last year this was considered an accessory use, and would this board be able to allow it to be an accessory use for this year also, in consideration that Levitate and the fair may not even happen again 2021?
I would certainly argue that you could, and I certainly believe that you can put conditions on it so that we can operate it and then, you know, take it up again if need be.
What would you think? It was something along those lines, Brian?
And I don't think it can be considered an accessory use if it's not listed in the accessory use. It becomes a principal use. And it's a new use being added to a non-conforming use. And two movie establishments outdoors is not allowed in a residential district. So when they did it for a temporary thing, that's one thing, but now we're adding it, it's making it bigger. I don't see it. I don't see how it's just, not everything's here. I just don't see it. They didn't get zoning approval last year. It was just through the selectmen.
Certainly. I understand what you're saying, Heidi, and I do agree with a lot of it. But I'm going with the anticipation that Levitate and the fair may not actually occur this year, and that if we gave them this avenue for revenue for this year, that they would have to be readdressed next year. And if those considerations have gone away, might be different. The screens are temporary, they can be removed.
And that's, so we have use accessory with its definition here. And do we have anything on temporary?
I'm looking.
I think in planning it was over 5 months.
So Larry, you saying that if the fair and Levitate don't happen, then this now becomes the only primary use there?
No, I'm saying that would
I'm just
still be
asking.
an accessory use temporary for 2021. That if the fair did happen this year and Levitate did happen and the drive-in was occurring, that 2022, this would all be addressed again by the fair organization. And if it was a hardship on the neighborhood to have the drive-in theater there, then maybe that would be a consideration not to have it in 2022.
I guess I'm struggling with the fact that the fair and the concert Levitate, whether they happen or not, it really is irrelevant. It doesn't you know, it still is a drive-in theater coming into the fairgrounds. Now you want 2 screens there. That's a whole nother use, and we have a definition for that. So that's where it's adding another use. It needs a variance, and I'm just struggling to see where they qualify for that.
What
And I think
if-
it's a slippery slope too, that we're even dealing with this, let's just put that on the table.
Well, let's continue to put that on the table, because what is the defined use of the fairgrounds right now? It's not residential.
Clearly.
Also 103 years old before zoning.
Because for one, don't want to be ruling on every single event that goes on the fairgrounds. And that's where this is going.
Well, Nancy, do you have any information on like a previous determination of what the principal use is for the property?
I do not.
And I agree with you, Mark. I struggle with this thing's been there for, is it 153, 154 years? So it obviously predates zoning. I just don't know, like you're saying, I feel this is under its umbrella. I don't see how it's not. I just don't. It's not permanent. It's removable. It's not full time, where it's used on the weekends and makeups during the week. I don't know. Do they have to stay under 5 months? I don't know what,
I mean, all the questions we're asking about details and lighting and timing, these are entertainment questions.
I agree.
These aren't zoning questions. We're way outside our scope here.
So what do you think the remedy would be for that?
Yeah.
I think it's go back to the Board of Selectmen. And I hate to say that.
Well, there's a couple of things. Sorry,
No, go ahead.
I apologize. One is we don't have a determination on what the principal use is. The person, in lieu of not having a determination, the person who would make that determination is me. So I don't know if I'm prepared to make that determination tonight without a little bit more information. You can see right here, use principal. The last line is the building commissioner shall designate one use as the principal use. So I think that should be determined first and foremost. But, then you can go from there, I suppose, for determining whether it's an accessory use to that principal use, allowed or not, but
I also think
it's very murky. The whole
it
thing
is.
is very,
Well,
very murky.
if you stay within the 5 month period, it's not a permanent use.
Correct. It's a temporary use.
It becomes a temporary use. So,
which is a permitted use in a temporary use is I'm sorry, that's for greenhouses, agricultural farm products and stuff. So that's a different one, but.
There aren't many other categories for the,
Right, for
for you.
temporary use.
Tony, Attorney Sullivan, if they're under the 5 month use that makes them into a permanent use, does that make it a temporary use?
I think it does. That's sort of the thrust of our argument. This is not a permanent long-term use by any stretch of the imagination. It's not even every day. It's seasonal.
Tony?
Well, I think the seasonal issue is one thing, but I don't think there's a blanket exception that if you're going to put something that's not supposed to be on a piece of property, you can just say, I'm not doing it all year, so it's not permanent. I mean, I think that rule, if that were the rule, it would swallow the entire zoning bylaw and its use regulations.
Well, it's just hard because that's what this was given for, a temporary use. It's clear on the permit.
But that's not a zoning. The zoning didn't give them that. The selectmen did. So
Yeah,
when
the time constraints are a selectman's determination. It's the use itself. on its own is what you have to decide. I don't think it really matters if it's 365 days a year or what it says on the license that's on the screen right now.
But
It's
if
whether
they,
it's allowed or not.
they determined twice this was a temporary use, and we come back to a temporary use, it was approved twice. I just, you know, I just feel like we're being thrown into this.
I think maybe we should table it till the next meeting. Because I think it's a lot. I think we have some things that we need to really think about. I don't think the application is clear. And Mr. Sullivan did a great job, but I just think that, I mean, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like there's too many things here that are undetermined.
Tony, would you be comfortable with trying to look up some of these answers for us that we're struggling with?
Yeah.
I know it's been pretty clear.
I mean,
I understand it's been very clear on everything. It's just, I think, obviously Andrew wants to figure out the use, and
well, I think we have to. I mean, I don't think, I just think logically, if you're going to consider a variance, a use variance, we have to know what the primary use is to even answer that question.
Because if an argument could be made that the primary use fits in within the other amusement and recreation service outdoor, you know, then is that an allowable temporary use on that property? So I think it's very important to come up with what the use, whether it's whether it's a, you know, especially if it's a non-conforming pre-existing condition.
So in zoning, we don't have temporary use. We have a primary use, accessory. Like, we don't have temporary use, so.
But Heidi, this property has they have a use all year with the agriculture, then they have a temporary use.
There are
No,
some temporary.
the selectmen give that. That's not from
No,
zoning.
It's actually in their zone, in the way that their use is written.
But this is not part of their use. This is a separate thing that has its own thing. And I love the drive-in, don't get me wrong. I'm just trying to cover our butts here because I don't think that, I just don't, this has its own category.
Temporary is a time consideration, not whether it's an allowed consideration.
I think we're getting confused.
Well, I think the fair, it's clear.
Just calling something temporary, okay, doesn't mean that it's exempted from the use regulations in the bylaw. Temporary is a time consideration that is constrained by the selectmen when they give them their license.
What about so what about the use on the fair, Tony, that says it has the all year use of the agriculture, you know, selling of goods that pertain to that, and then the temporary use with all those other things?
But that's not a zoning determination. That's the license they have to do what they do on the property from the selectmen for the entertainment licenses.
Revisit this, guys, because I want to do it right. I think we should.
Entertainment and the things.
Absolutely. This is just such a unique piece of property that there's been so many different uses on it. So many different things have been done there, from bull riding to the fair to car shows. So it is very unique.
Well, if we're going to table this and take it back another day, I might suggest to Attorney Sullivan that if we end up dealing with this on a variance basis, that maybe he review the application that was put in specifically with regard to condition number 1. Because if we're going to come back to this as a variance, that's going to have to be addressed.
Absolutely.
Do you want to pull that one up and ask one about 22?
And by the way, this temporary discussion having to do with timing, I don't think that's a basis to grant or deny the variance either way. I think it's irrelevant, actually. So if Andrew can get his description of what the primary use is and has been, then I think we'll be able to determine if this is something that needs a variance or not. I mean, I think it does because it's in the bylaw. It's a different use, but if we actually have something to work off of, we're trying to figure out if something is different or not, and we don't have an original definition of what we're working off of.
I agree with you 100%, Tony. So who would work? Andrew will work on that definition. Would Attorney Sullivan have any input or trying to
Yeah,
look at what
I'd
he
be
thinks?
happy to work with Attorney Sullivan and Attorney
And
Riley.
Tony's
and
also,
we can
you know.
we put it together and try to come up with something, figure it out, do a little research.
All right, so Heidi had made a motion to extend.
Yes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Larry made a motion to second it, so we have a motion on the table to extend this meeting to the next available meeting, which is when, Nancy?
May 11th.
So we would continue to May 11th. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Brian Murphy, aye. Heidi?
Heidi Conway, aye.
Harry Keene, aye.
Mark Stiles, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Chris Belzos, aye.
Okay, so we will continue this. Now, Reed, you won't get another notice, but you are being told tonight, we're gonna continue to that, what was the date again, Nancy?
May 11th.
May 11th, okay?
Put it on my calendar.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam, excuse me, Mr. Chairperson over there, Murphy, are there any other abutters that are here tonight that might have something to say?
Is there any other abutters here?
Oh, we've already tabled it to next week.
I know, but I just want to prove that Feeney's wrong. Thanks, Steve. There seems to be none, so it's just Reed. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reed.
Attorney, and do you want to just send me an email and we can, between you and Nancy and Tony and I think we can try to figure out where we stand with the original primary use?
I will do that in the morning.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So now we're going to move on to C 21-26, Town of Marshfield Department of Public Works. The petitioner is seeking a site plan approval in accordance with 305-12-02 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct a 136 by 141 foot single-story Department of Public Works facility to include a vehicle storage garage, a vehicle maintenance garage, muster training, lockers, showers, and limited office space on the property located at 965 Plain Street, which is further identified on the assessor's map as being parcel C10-02-03A and is located in the I-1 zoning district. Who do we have here to represent this?
Yes, good evening. My name is JP Parnas, a project manager from Weston and Sampson. And I can present the project. I also have my project architect and civil engineer if there's additional questions. Thank the board for receiving us tonight. This is a proposal for a new DPW facility at the Plain Street, 965 Plain Street site, which is currently the new home for the DPW there in the existing two-story building that was on that site, in addition to some temporary trailers and storage containers, which they have on site. The proposed building consists of approximately 25,000 square feet of a new metal building, pre-engineered metal building with insulated metal panels. As indicated, it has the majority of the building is a vehicle garage, and then has 4 vehicle maintenance bays, and then a staff support area, including lockers and showers and a large muster training room. The site itself is As I said, currently, the DPW operations, we are proposing to expand the paved area by approximately, I think, 42,000 square feet, which would include additional stormwater system. And that would consist of enlarging the existing stormwater basins on the site. The site would also include a new septic system for the new facility. There is an existing septic system for the existing building, which will remain intact. And then also it's called a tight tank, which will contain all the garage drainage from the interior of the building and will be pumped out and removed from the site as a maintenance item. As we said, the zoning is an I zoning, so this is a permitted use. It's a DPW vehicle garage. We believe we're meeting and exceeding the parking requirements. It's based on the number of staff that we need to accommodate. It's currently accessed by a 24-foot wide existing driveway that comes off of Plain Street. And that will remain the primary and the only access and egress from the site for vehicles. The existing building is the only portion of the site that would be accessed by any limited public. The new proposed building would be all for DPW use only, so it would be staff only at the back of in that building. The building is approximately 700 feet plus or minus from Plain Street and is blocked by both the existing building and the adjacent property that's on Plain Street. And there is existing landscaping to the north and along the driveway. We did meet with the Conservation Commission back in October, I believe, and got a determination from them that we are outside of their jurisdiction, so we have no issues with conservation at this time. Trying to think, there's a couple of items that have changed since this was submitted, and they're minor. One is we are currently showing a majority of the new handicap parking at the new building. We're shifting some of that over to the existing parking area in order to allow the installation of a couple of electric vehicle charging stations at the new building. And then separately, there will be, as far as I understand, an application for some solar photovoltaic panels on canopies within the new proposed parking area. That's going to be a separate project. We're not involved with that, but it is on this property. That will be coming later. I think what else I should cover. We have done test bits and geotechnical borings on the site, so that's all been determined. We've had a meeting with the health department for the septic system to review on-site test bits. And that design has yet to be submitted to them for their approval, but that will be done as well. As part of this project, and as determined by the geotechnical evaluations, we will be, or I should say the DPW will be removing and replacing some amount of soil within the building footprint, which is considered undocumented and has a lot of organics, cannot be used as structural fill. So that's going to be excavated and replaced with structural fill as a project ahead of bidding this project out for public bid. So that'll be done by the DPW. We will be observing that for geotechnical purposes. That about covers it. Architecturally, there is a 3D view at the end of the series of drawings, just to give you an impression of what the building would look like. Again, it's considered a pre-engineered metal building, so it's a steel structure with 4-inch insulated metal panels and a standing seam metal roof, aluminum storefront windows, and a masonry base to protect the metal panels from the ground. That's about it. We believe we meet every other zoning requirement, so we're not requesting any variance or special permits for this, but this is just a full site plan review otherwise. We have done a turning template to test for a largest ladder truck going through the property, and that does work. We will be sending that to the fire chief. We've had discussions with the fire chief as well on requirements for fire protection and so on. We are adding one additional fire hydrant to the site outside of the new building so that can be used.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anything else from any of your other members? Is that it?
I think that probably covers it. You know, if there's any specific questions, I'll open up to them as well.
I'll check with the board. So, Andrew, do you have anything to add?
Nope, we've gone over this one pretty substantially with the town planner, and the conservation agent. We are all satisfied.
Tony, do you have anything to add?
I do not.
Okay, fellow board members, does anyone else have anything? Any questions? Do we have anything from the public? And there isn't. I'm going to make a motion that we close, as I get it to read, C21 965 Plain Street. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Heidi. All those in favor? Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Stiles, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Chris Belizos, aye.
Okay, and now do we have any discussion on this? Does anyone need to discuss what we're doing? Then Andrew's going to put up the criteria that we have to agree to and believe this meets the site plan approval. Does anyone have questions on those? Seeing that there's none, I would make a motion that we approve 2126 965 Plain Street with the the determination 1 through 10 to be added to it. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Heidi. All in favor? Brian Murphy, aye. Heidi Conway?
Aye.
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Stiles, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Chris Belizos, aye.
Okay, so that's done. So moving on, we have 2108 William Smith, 115 Monitor Road. Is he here?
Mr. Chairman, if I might, Dave Carrier.
Yes.
Thank you very much, folks. I appreciate the due diligence on this, and I look forward to moving ahead with the brand new highway garage. I'm the vice chair of the board. Thanks again.
Go get him, Dave.
Thank you very much.
So do we have William Smith here or their representative?
I received an email yesterday. They just had someone out last week to do their site plan or their plot plan. So they've asked to continue to May 11th.
Okay, so we're going to continue. What's it?
Do you have to vote? to
Yeah,
continue?
make a motion that we continue, 21-08, 115 Monitor Road to, when's the next date?
11,
Nancy?
511.
5/11. Do I have a second?
second.
All in favor? Aye, Brian Murphy. Heidi?
Aye.
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Stiles, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Chris Bellows, aye.
Okay, so now we have 21-10, Doku Commercial Realty Trust, 2000 Ocean Street. Are you here?
Yes,
You're here.
yes,
Do you want to present what you have?
yes. My name's Steve Wiles, and what we have here is, I think you needed a layout for the parking for the addition to the restaurant, which is a Kona Cafe. And also you needed a handicap parking indicated on that plan. And I believe you have that plan. And I think that was the only thing that you were looking for.
All items.
Yeah. And also, I think we wanted to know what the distance was, the setback from the front line, lot line from the existing building and plus from the addition where that's non-conforming. And I think you have that also.
Okay.
I can't make that. Can
So
you
that's
make that
the
bigger?
0.5 feet right here in the front. That was that little jog that we wanted to know.
Right.
Can you make that bigger? I can't make it bigger on my screen for some reason.
Sure, a minute, yeah. How's that, Heidi? Okay?
It's better, thank you.
Is the addition basically the size of the temporary seating that you have there now?
I believe the temporary that he has now is more than 20 feet wide.
Okay.
I think he has it at 22 feet. This is 20 by 50.
Got it.
So do we have any questions? Andrew, do you have anything to add?
No, everything looks great as far as I'm concerned. They have their handicap spaces clearly marked. I mean, obviously, when they do all this, they'll have to restripe all this stuff. But now they have 2 spaces, which should take up the capacity for the addition. One's now van accessible, so they're bringing it all into compliance there. So they erected this wood fence along the back, which was requested by the Conservation Commission because they have the wetlands buffer and the riparian buffer zone. So that has been installed according with conservation, and so that they can delineate these spaces out the back. So I don't see any problem with what they proposed.
Okay, we have anything from the board?
What board are you talking about? The conservation?
No, from our board,
Oh,
zoning board. Tony, do you have anything to add, or?
Is this a historic building?
yes, it's a historic building, and I believe you have a letter from the Historical Society stating that they were fine with the plans that I submitted to them.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure.
Yes, they were notified.
Okay.
Okay, so do we have anything from the public? Seeing that there's none, I make a motion that we, close 21-10, 2000 Ocean Street. Do I have a second?
Second.
Did Heidi give a second?
Yep.
All those in favor, Brian Murphy, aye. Heidi Conway,
Aye.
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Stiles, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Chris Belazos, aye.
do we have any discussion on this?
Brian, can I just jump in?
Absolutely.
I saved the decision from 1840 Ocean Street, which was also an addition, so that you could see conditions.
Okay, great.
Where'd you say that, Nance?
It should be in the 2000 Ocean Street file, is it not?
I'm gonna look. I didn't. I always I always make my own files. I never are in your folder. Here, hang on.
Andrew, can I do this, or can you push this out to see the whole site plan, like when it was done and what have you? Just.
Yep.
Thanks.
Nancy, is it under zoning or town hall?
It should be under Town Hall under 2000 Ocean Street.
I don't have it.
It may have saved to a temporary file, which sometimes unfortunately happens. Could you go on to 2018 decisions? I believe it was the March 2018, because the May one was an modification.
$1840.
Yes,
Was it the minor modification or the?
it's the other one.
This one here, site plan approval?
Yeah, can you scroll just down a bit?
Sure thing.
Yes. That's the one.
All right, so the conditions would be, everyone can read those 1 through 6. All signage shall comply with the zoning bylaws. A temporary fence will be installed around the construction area. Erosion control measures will be installed in accordance with all federal, state, and local regulations, and these temporary measures will be removed once the site is stabilized. Demolition activities will be performed in a strict adherence with the federal, state, and local regulations. All construction will conform with state and local building requirements, and the general contractor shall verify all conditions and dimensions shown on the drawings and notify the engineer of any discrepancies. For this site plan to become effective, a copy of this decision bearing the certification of the town clerk that 20 days have elapsed after the decision was filed and that the office had no appeal and has been filed. Or if an appeal has been filed, that it was dismissed or denied and shall be recorded at Plymouth County Registry of Deeds. So we'll put that in with it, and then Andrew, can you pull up the five for the variance he had in there? We had in that list, you had one.
Oh, yes.
We're also gonna need the site plan on it.
For variance?
Yeah, so that one. So does everyone agree, with 1 to 5? Is there more than 5? 7?
Well,
Yeah.
They may not all apply. I just want you guys to see it.
Yeah.
But are we discussing the variance first, or are we just closed it, right?
We just closed it, so now we're just discussing what we believe would go into the decision. So let's do the site plan approval first. Can we go to the 1 to 10 there? Because that's really what we were just talking about. So is everyone happy with the site plan approval and the standards set in front of you, 1 through 10?
So, hold on.
Should have them in your notes.
Right, I have them here. Yes, I have them. Hold on. Okay, I'm just kind of worried about the parking on the left side.
Excuse me, that parking on the left-hand side can be moved closer to the lot line. Right now,
I know it's closed. I know it's closed, but
It's the hearing's closed right now. I'm sorry, we can't take any more input unless we ask you a specific question, okay?
okay, I'm sorry.
Did everyone have a chance to get out here? I did. I don't know if anyone else did.
Yes, I was there.
Same.
Yeah.
yes, I went by.
Yeah, I've been by.
Been by too often.
Yeah, I guess I'm just concerned with the space for the two cars to pass on the left there. Back and forth. And exiting and entering on the side parking area there. Not sure which part of this that falls under, but I'm a little, it's pretty cozy over there. I don't know if they can make some changes, but it's pretty cozy if they bring it out to where the existing thing is right now.
So Heidi, that's the same as the one we just approved for the DPW.
What, Brian? I can't hear you, sorry.
Oh, sorry. The 24 feet is what we just approved for the DPW.
Okay, so on the side here? Like coming in? Like as you can go in the front,
DPW driveway is 24 feet wide.
right?
You have I think you've got another 24 feet for parking, and I think that's pretty ample for a car to pull in there.
Okay. Okay.
Anyone else have any comments? Or think to anything that they want to deliberate on? Is everyone happy with what we see?
On the site plan, no.
No, you're not. Is there
It's
anything?
kind of unique. We've already had this business has already had a trial run for pretty much a year with that tent being there. That's pretty much the dimension of the addition. They've been successful with that, so I see no issues.
They have to get the bathrooms for ADA now and all that. Do they have to, if they're increasing it, does that change at all, or?
I have had discussions with the builder about that, and we can ask him real quick. Steve,
Yeah.
have you talked with them about that?
Yes, and they're all for it. And I figured when I apply for a building permit, that will be on the plan and that'll go through the Board of Health.
Excellent. All right, thanks so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we had that discussion a week or two ago. He came in the office and we worked it out that, about the adding a bathroom, an ADA compliant bathroom, and they thought it was a good idea. And so I figured it would be something we would capture on the building permit.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments? All right, seeing that there's none, I guess we can close this and do the site plan first, and then we'll do the variance after. So let's, I guess we can probably just do both, right?
You do one and then the other, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find my notes.
Is it all under the same hearing?
It is, yeah, so I'm just looking for my notes.
You do need to vote separately on those.
Right.
What's it?
You have to vote separately on the,
We'll do both,
variance
yeah.
and the.
So let's, I'll make a motion that we approve the site plan approval for 21-10, 2000 Ocean Street. Do I have a second? Anyone?
Second, sorry.
Second, from Heidi. All those in favor? But we gotta put the part that we added to that decision that that's applicable, and then we'll need the
You want these conditions?
conditions that are applicable, and then also the 1 to 10
Standards.
the standards
That
here.
met these standards.
That we all agree that they've met that standard, so that will be part of our decision. So, all those in favor? Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi, aye.
Lori Keane, aye.
Mark Stiles, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Chris Delazos, aye.
All right, so we've closed, decided that section out.
Can I just jump in again, Brian?
Absolutely.
Which of those conditions are you using?
From 1840 Ocean Street?
Yes.
I think they all apply. They just discussed the construction,
Okay.
recording signage, that would naturally, and any type of fence that's installed, temporary
Yeah.
fence,
I just wanted to double check.
yeah, to protect the area.
Right. Thank you.
All right, so now we'll discuss the variance. Does anyone have any
On the application.
questions on that? They have their former note.
You have the, Andrew, can you put the actual application up just to go over for the variance?
Certainly.
Does anybody
Yeah.
care? I just want to.
For a dimensional variance.
No, where's, no, their application, hold on.
Yeah.
I'm just looking for their original application that they put in.
I don't know what.
Is that on the 9th, February 9th?
Yep.
Do you have your original notes, Heidi?
I'm just looking for them now. I don't have the original application, but I have the things here.
Here we go.
Oh, thanks, you're dull. All right, wait a minute.
variance standards. I mean, is everyone comfortable with the answers that the applicant gave?
To keep him with the social distance.
R1 to 5 on the, gold was it, yeah.
Wait, slow down.
All right, so, if you wouldn't mind taking a look at 1 to 5 to meet the variance standards, is everyone comfortable with the fact that they met this requirement? Apply that to our answer. Does anyone have any questions on 1 through 5?
I mean, I don't really think that they 100% meet the requirement for a variance. I mean, I realize COVID's been different, but everybody's in that same situation, and to expand it, and that's the reason it's a hardship because of the social distancing and what have you. I don't know that's, I don't know, I could be wrong. I'm just saying I'm struggling with the whole variance piece of it, guys.
Does anyone else have any questions on 1 to 5? Anyone else need any more discussion? Seeing that there's none, I make a motion that we approve the variance for 21-10, 2000 Ocean Street. Do I have a set with, including, of course, what we're standards that we're applying in our answer? Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor, Brian Murphy, aye. Heidi Conway?
Nay.
Larry?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Stiles, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Chris?
Chris Felizos, aye.
Okay. So, that's done. We have all the standards are put in there, so do we have to wrap them both together? No, we already did that.
You've closed the hearing
Closed it,
and
we
you've
voted
granted the site plan approval and you've granted the variance.
So we're done.
So we're done with that. We just have to put together, did we
Yeah.
discuss the conditions on the variance?
We didn't have any.
You don't have any
They just,
conditions?
yeah, they
That's
would meet
standard
those,
conditions.
and that becomes in there, yeah.
Then you're all set?
Yeah. All right, yeah, because it's all right in there, it's up to the bottom. All right, so do we have, Nancy, do we have anything else tonight?
You're all set, Steve.
Okay, thank you very much.
We'll get to this, in touch with Nancy.
I believe that's it for tonight.
All right, I make a motion that we, close the hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi, aye.
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Stiles, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Chris Felizos, aye.
Thank you all for tonight, and, we'll see you at the next one.
Bye, everybody.
Take care, folks.
Thanks very much. Good night, everybody. Thanks, Brian, Nancy.